Oh, hello, good morning. Welcome to the Gouda Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series where we react to the latest Arsenal news, matches, if they're going to happen, transfers, if they're going to happen, and everything else, if they're going to happen, because we are now in a world of unknown as Arsenal fans. And to be honest, this is probably the earliest I've ever done a show. But we did a show last night, which of course went out, and we were waiting for this announcement. We thought it was going to be at 10:30. Turns out it was going to be at 11:30. So we've got that. That happened, which couldn't have been a worse time for the UK because most of the people were asleep by this point. Although from my timeline, there was still a hell of a lot of people that were awake and waiting for this. We're going to read through the statement. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you my raw reaction to it. I'm going to get your raw reactions as well in our chat box too. To give you kind of how I'm feeling, and good morning, guys, in the chat box. Give you kind of how I'm feeling this morning, just off the reflection of sleeping on it, waking up about it. Is a feeling of real sadness, definitely, because this is a point of no return. This is a situation where we can't go back from this. Like, football is, I'm not sure if everyone's fully grasped this, but there's no going back yet. Like, there's no going back from this point. You can't. The clubs cannot put out the statements they've put out with the situations that are going on right now and return to a level of normality. Football is not going to be the same ever again from this point. Is fact. It is just not. It can't return. It can't go back to the Champions League. It will not go back to a normal situation in the perception of clubs. Arsenal will not be perceived in the same way, whether or not whatever you thought that perception was anyway. It is different. It is not going to be. It's going to be Arsenal going to be looked at differently by other clubs. And it's It's a really, I think it's a really sad day for football. It is one of the final kind of victories of the richest people in the game, who the majority of are not. They're not us, really. They're not fans of the game. They are people out for their own self-interest, unfortunately. But yeah, let's read through the statement. And then we can talk about what this means, what's going to happen next, what does it mean for the rest of the season, what does it mean for the Europa League, the Premier League, our stuff we've still got games to play, what it means for that. So let's talk about that and talk about the statement. So we have joined 11 European clubs as founders members of the new midweek competition, the European Super League. There's lots more to bring the competition to life, and we will continue to update our supporters as things progress. More information can be found in a joint statement by the founding clubs. In the meantime, our focus is on the finishing this season as strongly as possible. Yes. So 12 of Europe's leading football clubs have today come together to announce they have agreed to establish a new midweek competition, the Super League, governed by its founding clubs. Milan, ourselves, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham have all joined as founding clubs. It is anticipated that a further 3 clubs will join ahead of the inaugural season. My bets are those 3 being Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and PSG. You can say all you like about it looks like the whole fan theory, the idea, but from the looks of things, Bayern Munich are already in talks. And if one German club goes in, you can bet your house that others will follow suit because they will not want to be left behind. Going forward, the founding clubs look forward to holding discussions with UEFA and FIFA to work together in partnership to deliver the best outcomes for the new league and for football as a whole. And this is an important sentence because what this is saying is that they're not basically putting the middle finger up to UEFA in the sense that they're going to do this on their own. They want help. They want UEFA and FIFA to join them in creating this Super League. Effectively, what they're saying is that they're giving them an olive branch in a way. They're saying, look, we're going to do this and we're sick of the way that you're running things, and you can either join us or you're against us. But they've actually opened the door to them joining and helping them work together. So with UEFA meeting today, a meeting with all the UEFA kind of partners, members, associates, whatever. All of those people are joining up today at UEFA and discussing what was going to be the new Champions League format. But this is obviously going to take massive precedent today. So whether or not they stand their ground, whether or not they turn around and say, look, we don't want to be any part of this. This isn't going to happen. And if you're trying to make it happen, you're going to do it without all of the UEFA competitions, all the FIFA competitions. The formation of the Super League comes at a time when the global pandemic has accelerated the instability in the existing European football economic model. Further, for a number of years, the founding clubs have had the objective of improving the quality and intensity of existing European competitions throughout each season and of creating a format of top clubs and players to compete on a regular basis. The pandemic has shown that a strategic vision and sustainable commercial approach are required to enhance value and support for the benefit of the entire European football pyramid. In recent months, extensive dialogue has taken place with football stakeholders regarding the future format of European competitions. The founding clubs believe the solutions proposed following these talks do not solve fundamental issues, including the need to provide higher quality matches and additional financial resources for the overall football pyramid. Again, really pushing this rhetoric that this is for all. This is not just for the 15 clubs. This is going to be for all clubs to benefit from. I mean, they kind of have to say that because otherwise it's never going to get off the ground. But you can bet your bottom dollar that if there's only the only people that are really benefiting from this are going to be these founding clubs in comparison to the rest. The competition format will be 20 participating clubs with 15 founding clubs and a qualifying mechanism for a further 5 teams to qualify annually based on achievements in the prior season. So what that means is that you'll have your 15 clubs and they will be in the competition every season. Arsenal will be in this every single season. And then 5 positions are then basically there for teams to just qualify for based on... We don't know yet, really. We don't know how those 5 teams will be decided. If there's coefficients involved, if certain leagues will take precedence, if you think about it, if there's already 6 English teams, how will another English team qualify? How will that take priority over another league where, like Portugal or the Netherlands? How will it take any precedent over that? Midweek fixtures with all participating clubs continuing to compete in their respective national leagues, preserving the traditional domestic match calendar, which remains at the heart of the club game. What that is saying there is that they want, obviously, the Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, Liga, all of these leagues and across the world will continue as normal with weekend fixtures. But what happens for the FA Cup? What happens for the League Cup? What happens for the midweek games in those competitions? Because this is increasing the number of games from a number which is just over 10 as a maximum European games you can play to something about at least, it could go upwards of, could be around 24 games during the season because they're going to play, there's going to be 10 teams in basically the 2 split leagues. There's going to be the 20 teams and they'll be split into 2 leagues of 10. They will then compete against each other. And then you go into like a quarterfinal, a semi-final, and a final. But yeah, it's so many more games. So where are they going to fit in the cup games, the League Cup games? It's going to be ridiculous to try and fit all of that in. As soon as, an August start with clubs participating in 2 groups of 10, playing home and away fixtures with the top 3 in each group automatically qualifying for the quarterfinals. Teams finishing 4th and 5th will then compete in a 2-legged playoff for the remaining quarterfinal positions. A 2-leg knockout format will be used to reach the final at the end of May, which will be staged as a single fixture at a neutral venue. As soon as practicable, after the start of the men's competition, a corresponding women's league will also be launched, helping to advance the development of the women's game. By the way, that is the only sentence in the whole of this announcement statement about the women's game, which in itself is ridiculous. That shows you their kind of focus, that they've just, one sentence about the women's game. It says helping to advance and develop. How? Tell us how. How is it going to help to advance and develop the women's game? How is it going to do that? Because it's important, and you set aside 2 lines in a word for that. Ridiculous. The new annual tournament will provide significantly greater economic growth and support for the European football via a long-term commitment to uncapped solidarity payments, which will grow in line with the league revenues. These solidarity payments will be substantially higher than those generated by the current European competition and are expected to be in excess of 10 billion euros during the course of the initial commitment periods. We know that this is going to generate, if it goes ahead, a ridiculous amount of money for the clubs that are involved in it, widening that gap further between the richest and the poorest. Welcome to the world as we know it. In addition, the competition will be built on a sustainable financial foundation, with all founding clubs signing up to a spending framework. In exchange for their commitment, founding clubs will receive an amount of 3.5 billion solely to support their infrastructure investment plans and to offset the impact of COVID, which are just honestly like that amount of money to those teams and what that will do for the if the league, say if Premier League or the Bundesliga continues, that amount of money going to those teams. I mean, Leicester, who I have a lot of admiration for, West Ham this season as well. You look at those teams and the work that's got into building those teams up, the smart recruitment, the time that's gone into building that Leicester team and to getting it into a position where it could compete. This is going to destroy that, destroy the hope, destroy the hard work, because 3.5 billion per club is just going to cause domination. The whole idea of the Premier League being the most competitive it's ever been, that changes now. That changes. And I'm someone, as an Arsenal fan, and I know where we sit in an embarrassing position. We're sitting ourselves in, apparently, one of the 12 best clubs in the world to be founding members. We're 9th. Are we 9th? I think we're even 10th in the Premier League. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous that we can sit where we are today and say that we deserve this based on what we are currently. It's ridiculous. Florentino Perez. I mean, this is funny. You're about to see statements from other clubs on Arsenal's website. And not only that, but if you're a Liverpool fan, you have Joel Glazer making a statement on the Liverpool website. That in itself is just unprecedented. Perez, the Real Madrid president and the first chairman, of course, of the Super League, said, we will help football at every level and take it to its rightful place in the world. Football is the only global sport in the world with more than 4 billion fans, and our responsibility as big clubs is to respond to their desires. Well, if you've seen anything from the backlash of this decision, if you're talking about desire, the desire is minimal, mate. Like, there is the desire from fans for this is nowhere close to what you're describing. Back in the new European League, Andrea Agnelli, who, by the way, resigned from his position as the ECA's kind of big guy on there after the whole statement yesterday that we were talking about on yesterday's show. He's resigned from that. He's just, it seems to be a very, very questionable character. Chairman of the Juventus and vice chairman of the Super League said, our 12 founder clubs represent billions of fans across the globe and 99 European trophies. We have come together at this critical... By the way, none of those European trophies belong to a few of those founding members. We have come together at this critical moment, enabling European competition to be transformed, putting the game we love on a sustainable footing for the long-term future, substantially increasing solidarity. I love that word, solidarity. Should we just do a quick Google of what solidarity means? Let's just Google the word solidarity. This means unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest, mutual support within a group. The only solidarity comes between the 12 clubs. There is no solidarity in the whole world of football for this decision. That is the most short-sighted and misleading use of the word solidarity I've ever seen. Ever seen. And giving fans and amateur players a regular flow of headline fixtures that will feed their passion for the game while providing them with engaging role models. Do you remember that? I don't know if you've ever seen this film. It's a great film, Pixar film. If you've ever seen it, The Incredibles. There's a bad guy in that film. Can't remember what his name was. But he says a line that always sticks with me with these type of things, talking about wanting to get rid of superheroes. Because if everybody is super, no one will be. And that is pretty much how this feels. Is that you talk about the whole idea of promoting these high profile fixtures. Things special about the Champions League and special about even the Europa League is when the draw happens and these big teams get drawn together. That in itself is something special, and seeing those fixtures just popping up makes them more special. By putting them on a regular basis and seeing Arsenal play Real Madrid every season, seeing them playing each other every single season, it will take away some of the gloss, some of the magic, especially from an Arsenal point of view, where our competitiveness in the early stages of this competition anyway is not going to be too great, you can imagine. Joel Glazer, co-chairman of Manchester United and vice-chairman of the Super League, which I find, honestly, the fact that there is a statement from him on the Arsenal website in itself is just, I can't. By bringing together the world's greatest clubs and players to play for each other throughout the season, the Super League will open a new chapter for European football, ensuring class competitions, facilities, and increased financial support for the wider football pyramid. Oh, God. It's honestly... And you know what's really ironic is that the next article on this is that Arsenal are to play Rangers in a commemorative friendly. That in itself is ironic. That in itself is a joke, because there's nothing together about Arsenal right now. There's nothing whatsoever. Charlie says, this won't go ahead. They released it just before the stupid revamp of the Champions League was planned. Charlie, I hope you're right, but I don't think you are. I think this was basically this is inevitable. Arsene Wenger knew about this 10, 11, 12 years ago, said this was going to happen, and look where we are today, and it's happening. So I'm sorry, but it is probably going to happen. We talked about kind of the only way that this don't happen. I said that at the start of the show, we talk about ways in which I could see this not happening. There is only one way in which this doesn't happen, in my view, and that is not to do with the fans, because as we've understood and we clearly see now, we aren't needed. The pandemic has showed us that we aren't needed in grounds for these clubs to continue, to football to continue. It doesn't matter if fans are in grounds or not. Football, because of the revenue from the TV side of things, at the lower leagues, 100%, the fans are still needed. But at this level, where the TV revenue is as such, we are not needed. We are not cared about. We are not considered. We are secondary at this point. But the whole point about the only way that you stop this is the players. The players is the only way, the only hope of anyone turning around and saying that this isn't happening is on the players. People that are earning ridiculous amounts of money already and are set to earn a hell of a lot more if they play in one of these Super League clubs, that's for sure. And we're going to learn a lot about players, I suppose, but they're the only players that are... The players are the only people that can stop this, because without the players, they don't have anything. If the players were to come together to stop this, that is the only way. And the thing is we have seen players come together to fight against things which we consider to be wrong and that are wrong. And I'm not going to start making comparisons between things because it's ridiculous to even do that. But the point being is that we have seen players come together against certain things. And that shows for me that it's possible that players can come together against something. But this is very different. This is obviously a financial thing. This is something about the sport, something about the game. I just can't see that happening. I can't see the players turning around and just like changing things. Can you? I can't personally see them changing things at all. It just doesn't make any sense that they would, because they're going to get involved in this, and that in itself is obviously something which they can't really stop. And that's a really disappointing thing, that they can't really stop it. But you know that the players are going to want to play in this. They're going to want to play for the biggest clubs. They're going to want to play against all of the best players in the world. It's just pure fact at this stage. It's so... And I'm coming from an Arsenal point of view, which I know for a lot of fans of other clubs will look at this and go, look, you know what? You're an Arsenal fan. You're going to be involved in this. It doesn't even matter at this stage. That's a big problem. But what I would say is that I feel like Arsenal, like the football's being taken away from me. That you should, and the other fans of other clubs should feel sorry for the fans of these clubs, because they have seen the owners basically turn around and hold two fingers up to them, basically, because this is just, it just ruins what football was. It ruins the point of it. It ruins the competitiveness of it. It ruins the idea, the legitimacy of it, the purity of it is gone. And I know that the UEFA competitions, UEFA and FIFA in themselves, are not perfect. I'm well aware of that fact. I'm not claiming that they are. But this in itself goes against every point of even like fairness, against a level playing field, against the idea that anyone can beat anyone, that anyone can get promoted, anyone can move forward, anyone can get a Champions League, anyone can qualify for the top four, anyone can qualify for this, that your bad games, that your poor runs of form are punished by relegation, by lacking in qualification for things. This goes. It just utterly disappears. And yeah, it's a really sad day for football, and I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted that this is going to happen. Saying that, you might see in 5-6 years' time, everyone by that point, if it happens, is used to it, because football goes on. Football just continues, doesn't it? Like, we continue because we're still going to support the team. Let's be real. There are very few people that are going to not support Arsenal, not support any of their teams if they're included in this. And that's what they know. They know ultimately that the fans will continue to watch this. They will continue to just pay the fees to watch the games because everyone loves football. As Florentino Perez said, 4 billion football fans across the world. And it's all well and good saying that you won't watch it, but in the long term, I think it would take you. I just can't see it. I just can't see people turning around and saying, I'm not going to do that, and actually following through with it. It's all well and good saying it right now, but I can't see it personally, because we've seen it before. How many people wanted Stan Kroenke to go? And yet there weren't enough people to make a stand ever against that. So where is there going to be enough people to make a stand against this? I can't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong, and that fans do completely boycott this, and fans do completely go against this. And if it starts to happen, then we'll 100% be getting on board with it. But the point of it is that I just can't see it happening. That's the problem that we have. Daniil says, Tom, even as an Indian, being someone who doesn't necessarily come from the same tradition as fans from the UK, this doesn't feel right. Again, I don't think this is anything to do with where you're from, what country you're in, if you're in the UK, if you're in Spain, Germany, France, Italy, or if you're from anywhere else in the world. I've always had the same view that if you're a fan from the UK or you're a fan from anywhere else in the world, you're on a level playing field. Everyone is equally entitled to support a club. It doesn't matter where you are in the world to realise that this is not true, that this is not true, that this is wrong. It's just wrong. It's just, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are in the world to me. Everyone's on a level playing field of support for their club and knows that this is not the right thing. Sahil says, Tom, to play devil's advocate, all these teams bring in big money for their respective leagues. It was never equal since UEFA, FIFA, and the Premier League brought the billionaires into the game, and now even the states. It's all well and good playing devil's advocate, Sahil, and saying that this is the case, and I get that point of view. I understand that without these clubs, these organisations wouldn't be as rich, and you're saying that these clubs should have the most power, but that's a financial viewpoint. It's not a sporting viewpoint, and that should be the priority. The precedent, the priority of this, of the support, should be where football is the main thing. That competitiveness, that an even playing field is tried as much as possible to be kept as the key. And I know that's very difficult when you see investment come into clubs like we've seen with Manchester City and Chelsea and the Man United spending and stuff like that. But that, in comparison to this, is still better. Even from an Arsenal point of view, where we are suffering in this situation and that we are set to suffer much, much less being in a European Super League. Don't get me wrong, like in a perspective from a purely Arsenal point of view, and not from an Arsenal fan point of view, from thinking as an Arsenal boss, an Arsenal executive, this is great. This is great for them. Absolutely amazing. They will feel like they've won the lottery being involved. Not only that, but you'll look at clubs like Spurs that have never won a Premier League title, that have not won the league for so long, and they're considered in the Big Six purely on financial merit. They will feel like they have won the lottery being involved in this. Atletico Madrid, them too. Like, you look at them as a club, the competitiveness. I know they're doing very well in La Liga, and they've won a La Liga title in the last 10 years. But European side of things, like, as a size of club, Atletico Madrid in comparison to some of the others is minimal. In comparison to some of the clubs that have missed out. You look at like Nottingham Forest, you look at Aston Villa, you look at these teams of European pedigree. Ajax at the moment aren't included. Marseille, a French side that aren't included and don't look like they'd be included with their European pedigree. Like, it's some Eastern European teams, their European pedigree as well. It's absolutely crazy that that clubs such as Spurs and Arsenal can be considered larger than some of those other teams in the context of like the European side of things, when this is a European competition and Arsenal don't have that European, that top tier, either European Cup or Champions League. It's unbelievable, really. That's the way it goes. It's not unbelievable at all. I don't know why I said that. It's not unbelievable. It's all financial driven, and it's what it is. Joe King says spot on. Arsenal are on par with the Colorado Rapids. Zamir says Bayern won't. It's majority fan, mate. Zamir, Bayern are in talks. Bayern are in talks right now to join the Super League. Do the research. Go out and find the info. But Bayern are in talks right now to join. So, they will be. Absolutely no doubt about it that Bayern Munich, PSG will be in this Super League, because to not be in it is going to be way worse off for them than being in it. So I trust those pieces that are being written right now that Bayern are definitely in talks to join this. Matt G says, hopefully Boca Juniors will join so they will be able to afford to buy Torreira. # positive. Josh says, so will we, United, Liverpool, Chelsea and City, compete amongst ourselves, replacing Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday night? Yeah, so effectively this means that all the midweek European competitions of the Champions League, Europa League, done, gone, finished. And they would be replaced by us 6 and 14 other teams, split into 2 leagues of 10 initially, playing against all those other teams to find out where you would gradually finish in those small leagues of 10. So, yeah. Wesley says, Tom, could you explain this more? What does it mean for other leagues? It's difficult, Wes, right now to obviously know the long-term kind of impacts on those leagues. In my view, and this is purely opinion, I feel like the leagues will not kick out the teams. I feel like they can't. They can, but I feel like they can't in the sense that a Premier League without those Big 6 teams, or a top-tier English football league without those Big 6 teams, the revenue loss from that would be it would be hugely detrimental. Because if you think about the fact that the marquee fixture in the Premier League, if that was to happen, would be Everton against Leicester, how many people are going to watch that, even worldwide, who are going to watch Everton against Leicester as the prime Premier League fixture? It's apples and acorns. Like, it's so different. It's so far apart in terms of what it would mean. So whilst a lot of people should turn around and say that, yeah, the EPL should kick them out, and fair play if they do, I just can't see this happen. I can't see the EPL kicking out these teams because financially, or any league for that matter, I just can't see them doing it. Just Bart, thank you for the donation, mate. It says, finally, Leicester are going to be the new Big 6 team. Spiral Sam says, don't see the point in cheering on the Europa or Champions League if we're not going to be in it. Yeah, it really is. It's taken away that this season, is that I was really looking forward to the Europa League semi-finals and fingers crossed a final. But it's really difficult to now get up for those games as it was before. If this announcement had come at the end of the season, it might have been very different. But it's very, very, very tricky and difficult to get up for those games and really want to throw yourself into those games in the same way. Even the transfer window, like, in my mind, was so ready and planned to do all these tactical breakdown videos, and we still will. But even then, it's really difficult to think about the transfer window and think about what the plan is, what the process is, what we're going for, what the reality is of our situation. We know nothing now. Apparently, this is going to start in 2022. So obviously, we've got next season, and then the season after. We've got next season, and then the season after that is when it will supposedly start. And what annoys me as well is obviously like the Arteta in the interview yesterday, and you guys know I back Arteta a lot. But to sit in the press conference and deny it all, that doesn't sit right with me at all. Understand why he had to, but yeah, that kind of shows you that he's kind of part of it, part of the problem. But yeah, there's going to be press conferences, there's going to be interviews, there's going to be a lot of questions answered. We're going to get more news today from UEFA. We're going to talk about this a lot. Make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be getting experts on. We're going to be interviewing people. We're going to get in more people's reactions on the show and talking about this. We're going to get more of your thoughts as well as things progress and develop. So stick around, stay tuned to TGT, because from an Arsenal perspective, we're going to keep you as up to date as feasibly possible, getting you the insight from experts as well, and the reaction from fans, and of course our podcast regulars. There's a podcast tonight, as always, is planned. So think about the Fulham game. I imagine that the Fulham game will take a little bit, probably a little bit of focus, if anything. But the main bulk of the chat tonight, I imagine, is going to be on the European Super League. So tune in tonight, 8:30 p.m. UK time. And we're going to talk about this some more. I'd really appreciate if you dropped a like on the video today, guys. Subscribe to the channel to keep yourself up to date with all the Arsenal information, transfers, matches, rumours, and now the Super League info. But it's been a pleasure to speak to you guys, as it always is, and as always, up the Arsenal.